Hi, my name is Randy Siebold, Vice President of Education for Weimar Center of Health and Education. And I have with me Chad Bernard, the principal of Weimar Academy.
That's
How you doing, Chad?
Great, fantastic.
Are you glad to be here?
I'm excited.
Anytime we can talk about education,
Absolutely.
we're into it.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, so just want to take a little bit of time here to get to know who you are. Where did you come from? Why are you here?
Sure.
What's your visions for Weimar Academy, evangelism, those kind of things. So let's start. Okay, let's not start at the beginning. You were a little baby, we knew that. And then you grew up, you went to Andrews University and got a job in, you've spent some time in Adventist education. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I did. I graduated from Andrews. I got both my bachelor's and my master's there.
Okay.
And
Now your master's is in curriculum and instruction?
Correct.
All right, so that's
right.
education-focused master's degree. Okay.
Absolutely. And taught for 7 years in Detroit at a school called Oakwood Academy. Had 7 wonderful years there, and then felt the Lord calling me to Lansing, where I worked as the principal and in the high school there as well for another 7 years, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then had a call to come out to Weimar, which I was very excited about because, first and foremost, because I felt God saying, "I want you to go," which was interesting to me because I'm 37. I'm born and raised in Michigan. That's all I knew. So to go west was...
You have never been thinking you wanted to be a California guy.
No, matter of fact...
Even though you like convertibles.
Yeah, I do love convertibles and love to drive them. But no, I wasn't very interested in... California is nice and they're great people. I just never saw myself living there. But I'm very excited about it just because I know that God has called me out here. And I'm very excited about what Weimar is doing. Their desire to follow the model that God has given in the Bible and Spirit of Prophecy, and to make that their foremost thought. Just whatever it says to do, let's do that, is nice. Because I don't think you become really wise until you realize that you know nothing. And when you start looking to the Lord and saying, okay, what do you say? What would you have us to do? Let's do that. What don't you want us to do? Let's stop doing that.
So now,
it's good stuff.
Okay, get practical with this.
Okay,
you're in Weimar Academy, and you're with the staff and with the students, and somebody says, "We need to stop doing this," and they start showing, and then you guys go, "Well, but this is what we've always done."
Right.
Is that pretty much how?
Well, exactly. As a staff, we get together and we spend time together. We're going through the book Education right now.
It's a good book.
And it is a good book. You should. Have you read that book?
I've read that book.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a must. So anyway, we're going through the book, and for instance, you come across a part in the book where it says that God's teacher does not accept second-rate work. That's not an exact quote, but you understand that.
Yeah.
So as you
So
read,
your teachers were like, "We kind of do this though sometimes."
Yeah, exactly. If they turn it in, they say, well, what could I get on this? Would that be like a C or a B or whatever? And the teacher goes, yeah, that'd probably be it. Oh, okay, I'm okay with that. That's not what God says you should do.
Yeah, and that's not what they're capable of.
No.
Right.
So we're talking about, well, what if someone turns something in and it's not their best work? What if we just gave it back to them and said, I won't accept it? And that was a really interesting conversation because the teachers are like, what do you mean? We'll just say, no, this isn't your best work. Well, what would you do? Well, you just tell the student, come back when it's your best work. Well, when would they do that? I don't know. It's up to them. But let's just not accept it. And let's not, another thing about second-rate work is, as teachers, if we're not following God's model for education, we're doing second-rate work. If we're just telling them, okay, listen to me, shout out facts, write them all down, and in 2 weeks repeat them back to me, that's not education. And that's second-rate work. So we shouldn't accept that either. So then it's like, well, then what should we do? Well, let's see what he has to say. And we find out that he says, go to the source, learn from the source. Use the Bible as the main textbook in your classrooms. She says that Bible is the Bible's more value or more important than all books. And then she goes, not just any book individually, all books combined. The Bible is more valuable.
Yeah, and to go back to that quote, intellectual development
Yes.
is what she's talking about.
Right, yeah.
And then the next paragraph she says, and you think it's good for intellectual development. What do you think about spiritual development?
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Because by beholding, we become changed. And
So
if you're constantly putting that in your
now,
brain.
is this kind of education happening at Weimar Academy?
Yeah, and we're striving to get better and better and better. I just right now, as we are having this discussion, I have students who are in the middle of taking their final exams. Some of them are doing projects. They've spent time focusing on things in history that excite them. One student just gave a presentation earlier this morning on she's really into she was intrigued by warfare, and she did a research project on how the French during the French and Indian War were more into guerrilla warfare, where the British were more into regimentary procedures, and how they would line up in lines, and the French and the Indians would attack them. And then we got into a really interesting discussion, because when you study, from my perspective and our students, we kind of thought, why didn't the French win this war? And then we said, well, what does the Bible have to say about this time period in history? And when you start reading Revelation 12, you find that the woman is protected from the dragon by fleeing. He tries to drown her out with water. She goes to the earth, and the earth saves her. Well, as you study that time period, you realize you're looking at the United States in Bible prophecy. Well, why didn't the French win? Well, do you know what the #1 religion of the French were in 1763? You know what the predominant religion was?
What's it, Catholicism?
Yeah, it was Catholicism. If the French would have won that war, Catholicism would have spread rapidly through the United States. But the British win the war, and they were predominantly Protestant. Well, it's interesting that the British beat the French, and then they turn around and lose to a bunch of colonials that weren't even organized. You're like, how does this happen? And the kids are like, man, that was because God wanted it to happen.
Prophecy.
And they go, hey, he sets up kings and tears them down. And we're sitting back, and we have this aha moment. We're like, amen. And so those are the types of things where they discover things on their own, and they're going to the source, and the Bible is a textbook. That's really exciting.
So this is a way, essentially what I'm hearing is you saying that this is a way to really reveal God, His knowledge, who He is, and how He works. I mean, the attempt is all subject areas.
Right.
Is that right?
Absolutely. And not just in history, but we try to use the Bible needs to be the main textbook in every class. And it's amazing when you start thinking that way, instead of, well, what can I do? Or what does the textbook say in the next 15 pages about 500 years of history? How can I cover 500 years of history in 15 pages that this author wrote? We start saying, no. How can we practice education where the Bible's the main textbook? How can we integrate God in the classroom? And then we start asking the questions to the students. We ask simple questions that, and then we integrate. How's the nature of God revealed in this? How's the knowledge of God revealed in this? And it really gets them to think. And that's what the book Education says. Hey, we need to be training our young people to be thinkers, not mere reflectors of other men's thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you start doing that, it's fun. The kids are excited. They enjoy it. And
I see some happy young people.
Yeah, we're having a great time, which is interesting, because I get people coming up to me and saying, why are your kids so happy? I see them singing and happy. And it's so funny. Our views of education are so twisted. When you see kids that are actually enjoying school,
odd.
they think like, man, you're obviously, you don't
What
put
are you
any
doing?
emphasis on academics, or you're obviously a really easy school, because these kids should be miserable.
So you are pushing outreach too? You have this intense academic program. Is there outreach ministries?
Absolutely.
Okay, so share with me a little bit.
We're going into the community, and we're doing some frontline evangelism. Like you're familiar with the glow tracks. We go and we go glowing, which the kids love to do. We're going to the community and passing out literature. We just helped with a can drive where we went into the community and we're soliciting for help to help a local soup kitchen. We're about to go to Southern California on a 7-day choir trip where we'll go and we'll be speaking and singing. The kids have a beautiful ministry where they sing, the choir. I'm totally biased, but I think they're awesome. And but I think you should if you listen to them.
I know.
Yeah,
they
they're
are
good.
very good.
Yeah, and so I just, man, I'm so proud of them in a godly way, for His glory. I'm very proud. But not only do they go and they sing, but in between songs and throughout the service, they're giving God the glory. And they're calling to the people who come to these concerts, calling them for decisions for Jesus, and it's been very, very powerful. So we're going to Bolivia in March.
Right,
Some
the
of us are
mission
going to
trip
Bolivia.
coming up. Yes.
As well as we have another group that are going to be going to a Navajo mission in the States. So we both trips are very excited about getting the kids opportunity to actively model Christ's character and do what He asked us to do. I mean, it's a very simple concept. Hey, let's do what He asked us to do.
What a concept.
Yeah, let's just focus on that. Let's not focus on how can we entertain kids, how can we keep them from the streets. Hey, why don't we just focus on what God has asked us to do?
And how are the young people
joy?
responding to this? The students who walk into the doors at Weimar Academy, are they all saints, or give me a perspective?
Well, that's interesting. We're not all saints. Their principal is a chief sinner who needs Jesus
Amen.
on a daily basis. So I can only speak for myself, and I know that I desperately need Him. But these kids, they're not perfect. They come from all over the world, and you know what I find interesting? They
all over the United States.
All over the U.S. too, exactly. They're just from all over the place. Matter of fact, in our concert, kids get up and in 8 different languages read the 3 angels' messages, which is really interesting because I don't know what they're saying. I don't know Indo and I don't know Korean, and so anyway. But they come here and they say, there's this stigma out there that you guys, Weimar is so hardcore, like you don't smile and everything's really rigid, and so. I was interested in coming, but I was really afraid that when I came that you guys would be like, I don't know, like there's this view out there that we're some type of cult and we stay in this little bubble and stand in the corner and just,
I've noticed you smiled several times.
Yeah.
To
So they come and they're saying, well, it's not like that at all. It's just amazing. I said, well, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Oh, no, it's a wonderful thing. We're focused on Jesus, and we're happy, and I love it here. I don't want to go. And
students are responding to that. I mean, you're sensing the students.
Absolutely, and lives are being changed.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. It's so great, too, when we get together in the morning, kids, we have time to give testimonies. They get up front. They don't have to, and they'll say, hey, I want to share a testimony from my devotional life this morning, how God spoke to my heart. And you see all these kids who are not being forced. We're just praising God and how He speaks to us individually on a personal basis. And I just praise God. I'm like, this is what I signed up for. Thank you for sending me out here in the land of the sun.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's right.
Glad to be
Amen.
in
Boy, I tell you
California.
what, that is some serious icing. You see the beautiful mountains and the ocean's just a couple hours away, and world-class skiing's an hour away, and you're like, man, Lord, I came for the cupcake, but boy, you got some thick icing on this.
457 acres.
Oh,
and
the trails are gorgeous. I have deer in my backyard all the time, and they all know we're a bunch of vegans around here, so they're not scared of us.
Yeah.
So I'll come out, and they're standing right there, I'm like, good morning,
Yeah.
and oh, it's just gorgeous.
Well, you sent an email pretty early this morning, didn't you?
Yeah, I was up early.
Yeah, you go outside and... You're probably not outside this morning.
Not this morning. It was a little rainy, but I get up early. It's just so wonderful to go out and walk with the Lord, like Enoch did. Try to be like that, you know.
What a goal.
Okay, I'm walking around talking to Him. I'm seeing God's beauty and getting out in nature, and it's just you start to realize this is what God was talking about in a relationship, not the come one day a week, listen to somebody talk, and that defines your relationship.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate it. The time has flown by. And anyway, thank you for joining us and getting to know Chad Bernard, principal of Weimar Academy.